Hey guys, today we'll be covering a 2012 comedy film called So Undercover. Molly Morris is a young private investigator based in Dallas. Her usual clients are women with unfaithful husbands looking for proof that their partners are cheating. One time, she is appointed by the sheriff's wife to spy on him on weekends when he says he's at work. Molly sees him entering a hotel with a woman. She takes pictures but wants to take it a step further, so the man isn't let off the hook with any excuses. With her father guiding her through a Bluetooth device, she follows the cheater and sees him entering a penthouse with the woman. Mr. Morris guides her to an empty room, and she manages to climb inside the penthouse through the balcony. Just when she secretly takes pictures of the sheriff in bed, a third woman spots her. It turns out that the sheriff had planned to spend the day with not one, but two ladies. He chases Molly to the rooftop asking for the camera. When trapped, Molly pretends to hand the camera over, but attacks the sheriff and runs away. After another successful day at work, she goes on a bike ride. Unlike most girls her age, Molly doesn't like parties, dresses, makeup, and such. She started working early on in life, and her faith in love vanished after seeing many broken relationships. In the following scene, she is at a dinner spying on yet another cheating man. She is approached by a guy who seems to know what she is doing. He tips off the cheater about the PI taking his picture and sends him away. It turns out the man's name is Armin, and he is with the FBI. He needs Molly's help for a very important case where she has to pretend to be a college girl and spy on someone. No one in the FBI team can do it since they lack a young person who can pass off as a college girl. Moreover, the work offers decent pay, which will be very useful for Molly since her father is a gambler. She instantly refuses to get involved, but Armin asks her to at least listen to what the job is. For the past year, the senator unknowingly worked with a mafia leader, but when he found out, he ended all their partnerships. However, he refuses to testify against the mafia boss, scared of getting in trouble himself. It is said that the senator's daughter Max has evidence of all the corruption that the mafia leader has done through her father. Molly's job is to find that evidence and bring it to the FBI. Moreover, Max's life is also at risk because of the mafia leader, so Molly has to stay close to her and protect her. For this, she has to join a college sorority house named Kappa and make friends with Max. After listening to everything, Molly still refuses to take the job and walks away. Later that night, Mr. Morris comes home from the casino, revealing that he has lost $17,000 in the past hour. He is embarrassed about his addiction to gambling, but it doesn't solve their financial problem. Molly sees no other way but to take the job Armand offered her. In the following scene, she is given a makeover and turned into a stereotypical college girl. She is also taught slang that the sorority girls use and given all the information about Max, who she has to befriend. The first person she meets in the sorority house is a girl named Cotton. She is the typical dumb girl, always troubled by her boyfriend who humiliates her any chance he gets. When Molly tries to stand up for Cotton, she in turn blames her for ruining her boyfriend's mood. Inside, Molly is welcomed by a queue of girls chanting the sorority's name and welcoming her as a sister. Then she meets the current head of the sorority, Sasha. She is a pretentious two-faced girl who welcomes Molly wholeheartedly, but secretly judges her clothes and hair. As they chat, Molly sees Max walk by and pretends to know her from a summer camp they went to during school. They instantly make friends, which is the first step towards victory for Molly. After that, she is shown her room and her roommate. When no one is around, Molly puts away her new clothes alongside her spy tools. On her first day at school, she sees a guy named Nicholas working on his bike. Being a motorbike geek herself, she lets her personality slip out and impresses him with interesting facts about his motorbike. But upon realizing that she is making a mistake, Molly quickly throws random slang at him and gets out of the situation. Despite her quick exit, Nicholas is interested in her. Later that day, the sorority sisters get ready for a pageant night. While chatting in the makeup room, they realize that someone has been stealing things around the house. Molly tries to make conversation with Max by complimenting her necklace. To her surprise, she gets defensive and hides the pendant beneath her shirt. Molly has also placed teddy bear cameras all around the house to keep an eye on Max. She has been tipped off that someone has already entered the sorority house with a fake name and address, trying to steal the evidence Max is hiding. During the announcement at the pageant night, Molly notices a shadow behind the window. She tackles Max to save her, but it turns out to be a bunch of frat boys spying on the girls. Because of her mistake, the curtains catch on fire, and the night is ruined. The next day in college, Molly, Max, and Nicholas become friends. Molly has to try hard to keep her real personality in check because she is used to expressing her opinions about everything. Later that day, she notices Max leaving the house and takes this opportunity to go through her belongings. She is ultimately caught by her roommate, but manages to escape after making an excuse. Then at midnight, Cotton bangs pans to wake Molly up. In a moment of panic, she points a gun at the girl, but claims that it's fake. It turns out that it's a tradition to wake up the girls one day a month and take them to a frat party. They follow the tradition and go to the said party. Everything goes well until Nicholas asks Molly out on a date. Not wanting to make personal connections at work, she politely declines. The following day, while walking out of a classroom, Molly notices Max talking to Professor Tolloway. Even though they seem pretty close for a professor and student, she doesn't think much of it. The next time she sees Armin, she tells him about Nicholas, who's the only guy close to Max. She also asks him to do a background check on Professor Tolloway and Sasha. Molly has noticed that Sasha lies about many things, which might just be a toxic mean girl trait, but she wants to be sure. Armin advises her to go on a date with Nicholas to find out what kind of person he is. Even though she doesn't want to lead him on, she agrees and ends up at a pub by the end of the day. She subtly asks Nicholas questions about his childhood and parents, and figures out that he is not a bad person, as she had predicted. He walks her home, and the two separate after sharing a kiss. In the next scene, the sorority girls are trying to sell dolls to raise money for charity. They are competing against another sorority group that offers car wash services and are losing by a landslide. Everyone returns home after a long day of failed business, but when everyone gives up, Molly thinks of a plan. She has seen a married professor having an affair with a student around the campus. She snaps some pictures of them from afar before blackmailing the professor to buy all the dolls. The charity event is a success, and all credit goes to Molly. Sasha, who is used to being the most liked one, is furious at Molly's growing popularity. Later that day, she finds Molly alone and gives her a bracelet as a gift. Molly thinks it's strange, but wears it nonetheless. But Sasha's true intentions come out when Cotton accuses Molly of stealing her mother's bracelet that had been missing for the past week. The girls decide to check Molly's room and find all their missing belongings inside her bag. It is clear that Sasha has set her up, but no one believes her. To teach Sasha a lesson and clear her name, Molly thinks of a plan. When Sasha goes out for a run, she goes through her belongings and finds a yearbook from her high school. Her real name is Susie, and she turns out to be an unattractive, shy girl in high school. Since the girl changed her identity, Molly believes that she is the imposter who has been sent to kill Max and steal the evidence. She confronts her in her room, but Sasha reveals that she only changed her identity because she was ashamed of her former self. She was an ugly nobody in high school with no friends. So when she started college, she wanted to leave her former self behind and start a new life. Molly trusts her and decides not to use the yearbook picture against her. In the sorority meeting, Sasha admits that she is the thief who set up Molly. Everyone is shocked, but they are proud of her for admitting her mistake and apologizing, because it is a brave thing to do. Sasha and Molly also put their differences aside and start getting along. Everything goes well until one day, Molly notices Max sneaking out of the house. She follows her and ends up at Professor Tolloway's house. It is clear that he and Max are having an affair, which might be because Professor Tolloway is the imposter sent to kill her. The following day, Molly meets Armin, who reveals that Professor Tolloway has nothing to do with the case. In fact, the imposter is Nicholas, whose real name is Patrick. Despite looking at the evidence against Nicholas, Molly refuses to believe it. She has started to fall for him and is hurt that he is not the person he said he was. Later that day, the sorority house organizes a party where Nicholas is also present. Molly takes him to her room and handcuffs him before punching him in the face. She wants to do much more, but Max has just left the party, so she has to pursue her. Following her car, Molly reaches Professor Tolloway's home yet again. Inside, she looks at his workplace and finds out that he is an FBI agent. It comes to her as a shock because she thought she was working with an FBI agent against him. Suddenly, a masked man attacks her, but runs away without killing her. She figures out that the man is none other than her employer, Armin. He tricked her into thinking that he was with the FBI, when in reality, he wanted to use her to find out where Max hid the evidence. Outside, she finds Professor Tolloway by the side of a creek and calls 911. The next day, she returns to the house and finds two real FBI agents waiting for her. She tells them everything about how she was tricked and offers to help because she knows where the evidence is. She then organizes a meeting with Armin, claiming that she found the evidence and is ready to exchange it for Max, who he kidnapped last night. They make a deal and meet on campus to trade. However, Armin soon figures out that the evidence Molly handed him is fake. He holds her at gunpoint and brings her to the sorority in a car with Max. What Armin doesn't know is that the sorority sisters have been told about Molly's true identity and are helping her. Sasha, being the expert thief she is, steals Armin's car keys and frees Max from the backseat of his car. Inside the house, Nicholas finds Armin and Molly together and a fight ensues between the two parties. Armin threatens to kill Max by setting off an explosive that is inside the car. He does so, but since the girls have already freed her, no harm is done. At last, Molly's father arrives to her aid and saves the day. Max gives up an SD card inside her pendant. In the last scene, Molly decides to stay in college with her sorority sisters and her boyfriend, Nicholas.